All right, so let's go into Excel, and we're going to just create, or it actually brings up a blank document for me. Okay, and let's save this somewhere. I think we're dealing with a mutual fund, or yeah, I think we're dealing with a mutual fund. So save it as whatever your name is, mutual fund. Okay, so save it as an Excel workbook. It's blank at this point, but we're going to bring things into it. Okay, the first thing we're going to bring into it is the text file. And we're going to import that text file that we looked at earlier. There are two types of text files, and what were the two types we talked about? And it's based on the way columns are separated from one another, the way fields are separated from one another. One way is fixed width, meaning they always start in the same place, and the other one is delimited. Delimited means they're separated, like every field is separated by some indicator, like a comma, a space, a slash, whatever it might be. But here what we're going to do. We're going to go to this blank workbook, okay, and we're going to go to our data tab, okay, and our data tab is where we see a lot of the ability to connect to outside data. And for this first one, we're going to want to import a text file. And you see over here we have a couple things, from Access, from Web, from Text, from other sources. We're going to build connections over here, refreshes connections, like it goes out and gets the most current version of our connections. But right now, we know we want to import that history text file. So we're going to click on From Text. Okay. And then I want to navigate to that history file, wherever you stored it. Okay, it's looking for history or .txt extensions. And then click Import. And don't do anything after this because it's bringing up something called the import wizard, okay, the text import wizard. So there's 3 steps to it. And the first one is a lot of times this kind of data has, it might be created from an old legacy system, and it has like headers and titles and names at the top of it, like Carol Hill and those kind of things. And a lot of times I want to skip that information, okay? So this case, I want to skip the first 4 rows, so I'm going to tell it to start the import at row 5. So it's not going to import the first 4 rows of data. It's going to ignore Union Financial Annual Report, all those things. It also immediately recognized it as fixed width. Okay? Excel was smart enough to say, hey, this looks like, I don't see commas, I don't see spaces separating things, I don't see slashes or tabs. So it recognized it as fixed width. So we'll leave that alone. I want you to click Next. It'll take us to step 2. And this is very important. It's asking us, okay, where do you want the breaks at? Okay, where do you want the breaks at? Did I say skip row 5? Yeah, I did, okay. So it says, where do you want the breaks at? Well, these lines, go ahead.
Sorry, what did you click on to get to that screen?
To which screen?
After you clicked on the data tab.
So if I went to From Text, okay, From Text, and then you're going to navigate to wherever you have that history file that we stored from Blackboard. Did you find that?
Yes.
Okay. And then we import that. And it recognizes it as fixed width. And we're going to start the import at row 5. And then click Next. Okay. Now, it does a nice job at identifying that, hey, this thing is fixed width, but it doesn't do a great job of identifying where the column breaks are. Okay, you know what page breaks are. These are called column breaks or field breaks, and those vertical lines are field breaks. Okay, so a couple things. If I want to insert, this is step 2 of 3. If I want to insert a break line, and I do, we just click. Okay, so I want to insert one right here. So everything in that position, what is it, like position 1 through 8, it looks like, will be labeled the date field, right? So that's one field. It's going to go in its own column in Excel, right? And that's how we want it. We want every field in its own column in Excel. A couple other things we can do. This one doesn't look like it's in the right place either. I want high stock volume, so I'm just going to drag that, left click on it, hold it down, and drag it over. This one as well looks like it's a little off. I'm going to put it right after low. I'm going to put one after close. I'm going to put one after open. And actually I have an extra one. And I want an extra one on purpose because I want to show you how to delete it. To delete a break line, just double click on it and it's gone. So this is what you want it to look like. I don't care how you get there. You can drag, you can delete everything it has and create 5 new ones. But you should look like this. Okay, so we're saying this is the end of column 1, end of column 2, 3, 4, 5. So when it imports it in, they all go in like an A, a B, a C, a D. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's click next. And generally speaking, we could click finish at this point and be all right. It will treat every field as a general format. And it does a pretty nice job of recognizing, hey, this looks like a date, so I'm going to call it date. This looks like a number, so I'm going to call it number. This looks like a text, so I'm going to call it text. But if we want to be a little more specific, click on next here. Okay, and we can actually tell it about the format of all the fields. For example, for this first one, it recognizes, hey, what do you want to do with this guy? Well, it's clearly date format. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say date, but it's also what format of date? What's first? It looks like 2010, 01, 04. That looks like year, month, day. Okay, so I'm going to change that to year, month, day. I probably don't have to do anything with this because the second column, the third column, the fourth column, you see it's just treating them as general, and up there it says general converts numeric values to numbers. Clearly these are numbers. And it converts date values to dates, so I probably didn't even have to do anything there. And it converts all remaining values to text, okay? So we're good. Okay, so I don't think we need to do anything else. Click finish. Okay, now it's going to ask us where we want this data at. So we have room for titles if we want to put it. Let's put it in A4. And click OK. Okay, so now that data that was in that text file is now in our Excel worksheet. Okay, and we can do all the beautiful things we can do with data in Excel. We can average things, we can graph things, we can summarize things. Now, a couple things. We need to explore a few things here. What that did, okay, I imported it, but Excel recognizes an import as you connected to something outside Excel. It built a connection, okay? So if we want to look at that connection, we're going to go up under the Data tab again and go to Connections. So if we click on Connections, we'll see that there is one connection and it's called History. If we want to see where that is used, okay, like what worksheet it's used in, because sometimes we have 10, 20, 30 connections going on. We say, well, why are we connecting to this source? If we click down here, okay, it'll tell us, hey, that connection, we only have one right now, but it is used in sheet 1, and it is being moved into A4 through E785. Okay, E785. Now let's take a look at some of the properties of that connection. So let's go back and click on History again. And then click on Properties. Now here's where I can give it, think about this. If I have, if it's something I'm doing myself, I probably don't have to do this kind of documentation, but in a professional environment, a lot of times, this is fund history text file. Okay, and this is, we'll give a little description, this is a text file of the fund's price. Okay, now, in this dialog, some of the important features are this, okay? Refresh control. Refresh control is sometimes the data source I'm connected to changes, whatever reason. Like maybe it's controlled by someone else. Maybe it's like a database that gets updated during the day. Maybe it's web data, right? That's maybe always changing, the current price of a stock. So we need to decide what we want to do with it, how often we want to go out and refresh it. So last refresh control allows us to do that. We could select and say refresh every 60 minutes. So go out every hour and pull a brand new version of this file. Like whatever's in that file, re-import it into the same damn place, right? We could say every 5 minutes, every 1 minute, if maybe it's a stock price and it's updated every day, or every minute, we want to do that. We can refresh it when we open the file. This prompt for file name on refresh means anytime it's refreshed, should we have to navigate to it again? Let's uncheck that, and let's say let's check refresh data when opening file, and then we click OK. And then let's close our connections. Okay, so let's change something. Let's go to wherever you put so leave your Excel file, is fine, but go to wherever you have your history file. Like mine's on my desktop, the history.txt file, okay? TXT files are just that. They're just text. They have no formatting, no functions. They're very simplistic. But we want to go into one. Let's open it. So let's open this with, and you can open it with one of two things. And you guys maybe have used this before. Notepad is like a basic text editor. WordPad is like a basic text editor. I don't care which one you select. They'll both work. I'm going to use Notepad. And this will allow me to change this file. So let's change the high price to something ridiculous. We'll say that's $96. Just so we know it changed, okay? It's on that first day. And then I want to save it. Okay, it's the same name it was. So don't do save as, just I opened it, changed it, and saved it, and then close that out. So you can use history, you can use Notepad or WordPad, whatever you'd like. And if I go back to my Excel workbook, it still says 26, right? Because I haven't refreshed that connection. What I should be able to do, but the connection's still there. So if I say refresh all, is one way I can do this. Refresh all, you see, it went out and did what? It went out and pulled the latest version and updated my data. Okay, does that make sense? Let's try something else. Let's go to this connections again, and let's edit the properties of this guy. And I want to change, let's do two things. Let's say prompt for file name on refresh. So we uncheck that, and you notice when I said refresh all, it just refreshed it. It didn't ask me to navigate to the file. But this time, it's going to be a little bit different. So click prompt for file name on refresh, click OK, click close. And this time, I want to reopen this data set, okay, this Excel workbook. So I want you to close it. Okay, so close it. Do you want to save it? Yeah, save it. But I want you to close it. Okay, so I want you to close the workbook. So we close the workbook. We go away for a couple days or a lunch or whatever, and we come back and we want to get started working on it. So I hit File. I go to my recent. And we say, hey, there's Miko MF. I open that. A couple things we'll see. Okay, the first thing is, remember Excel tries to protect you, and by default it disables macros. Well, it also sees this as a security threat, so it disables connections, okay, at the beginning. But we know, hey, this is supposed to have connections. I built these connections. I'm all good. So I'm going to enable content. And now this one, a little bit different, because I checked that top box that says, I can't remember exactly what it says, but it says basically like navigate to file or reprompt file on refresh. I have to again say, yeah, it's still this history file. And click import. Okay, and it didn't change anything because there's no changes in that file, but I can promise you it went out and pulled the latest version of that file. Okay. And then I think your book has you do a chart for this. It has you do a financial chart. I think it's like an open, low, close, high chart. But we're not going to do that. I'm going to focus on the connections today. Okay? I want to focus on bringing data into Excel. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about is, so we know how to bring in a text file, and really a common delimited, which is a lot of times what things come out of other applications as. You can download as a common delimited file. If any of you have any kind of like workout apps or fitness apps or anything like that, you can usually download your information from that to a common delimited file, bring it into your Excel, and do whatever the hell you want with it, right? Blackboard, where we keep grades for students, I can download that from Blackboard into a common delimited file and then go to Excel, because Excel is much more robust and powerful than Blackboard to analyze grades, right? So a lot of times, SurveyMonkey, for example. Anyone ever do a SurveyMonkey survey? You guys do that student satisfaction survey? You guys know what I'm talking about? Okay. Or SurveyMonkey for any kind of survey tool. Always these tools have an option to download to what's called a common delimited file, because they realize, hey, you may want to analyze them a little differently than we can provide that. And a lot of times those files end with the extension CSV. Okay, so that's how we would do that. Now, what I want to talk about next is text files are all well and good, and text files are perfect for flat files, but we also sometimes have databases. Okay, databases that we want to connect to. And some of you had me for MIS 102 last semester even. I think Cordell was in that class last semester. But we talked about the differences between lists and databases. And a text file is just a list. What's the big difference between a list and a database? Because an access, we're going to connect to an access database. What's the big difference? Do you remember anything, Cordell? Why would we use databases versus lists? Well, Leah, you were in there, I think, too, right? Weren't you? Remember, guys, remember anything?
I don't remember.
Oh, Cordell. How important I thought that was 4 months ago.
Did you like manipulate the data?
Okay, well, manipulate the data you can do in either, really. If it's an Excel list or a database. But why do we choose a database over a list or a spreadsheet? Anyone remember?
It's because like databases, the data in it can be like manipulated and changed and updated, while a list is just like a hard set piece of.
That's true. I mean, it's databases have locking functionality, which allows us to lock things. But really, the big thing is databases are when we store information about like multiple themes of things. When we tie a lot of things together. If you remember in MIS 102, the example I used is if I just have a list of students, that's fine. I just have students, boom, 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 that's fine. But a lot of times, like you think about what has to come together to make this class happen? Well, students have to register for an offering. The offering is an offering of a course taught by a faculty member in a location. Think about multiple themes have to come together, multiple entities come together. And the type of database that is dominant in the business world is something called relational databases. And I know this is going to be kind of a review for some of you, hopefully. But relational databases are made up of multiple tables. Okay? And tables are like a worksheet in Excel. Okay? They're like a worksheet. They're two-dimensional. So a relational database is made up of multiple tables, and in those tables, and remember, tables kind of look like this. They're like a spreadsheet. We have columns, or wrong way. We have rows, which we sometimes call records, and we have columns, which we sometimes call fields. So if you think about it, in a university database, there would be a table called student, okay, and there would be a row on Shane Morris. There would be a row about everything about Alex. There would be a row on everything about Leah. We'd also have a table, a two-dimensional table, on faculty, and there'd be a John Miko row, there'd be a Randy Fry row, and a Dr. Garcia row, right? There'd be rows. There'd be a classroom table, and in that classroom table there'd be SCOTUS 206 and SCOTUS 103. There'd be a course table, right? And all those things have to come together, right? For this to happen, all those things have to come together. And we tie tables together through what? People that had me for MIS 102, probably you were there as well. What do we tie tables together with? Keys, very good. Primary keys, right? So, when you enroll in a course, we don't bring all your data from your student row over. We just say, hey, student number 1734, boom, is in this course, right? And it points to that. So we tie these tables together through what's called primary keys and foreign keys. And, if you remember in MIS 102, I talked every damn system you're in, there's some kind of primary key. Like the IRS knows you as what? They don't know you as John Miko or Alex Caruso. What do they know you as? That's your key, right? The PA, Department of Transportation, doesn't know you as John Miko or whoever you are. They know you as what? Your driver's license number. St. Francis knows you as your student ID, right? You think about it. Pandora knows you as your user ID. Your bank knows you as your, everything has to have a primary key because that's how we tie these records together. Okay? So when we import from a database, okay, and there's a lot of different types of databases. There's Microsoft Access, there's SQL, there's Oracle, and we can tie to almost all those things in Excel. We can do a couple things. We can pull the whole table. We can say, hey, take whatever the student table is and pull it into Excel because I want to monkey around with it there. I want to analyze it in Excel. I can pull 2 or 3 tables, right? I can do that as well. I can pull this table and this table. But sometimes databases can be made up of hundreds and thousands of tables, and I really don't want all that information, right? I don't need all that information. So what is a language? We talked about this, or in MIS 102. What is a language, or what is the process of asking a question of the database and saying, just return this? I don't want all that. Just return this. What do we call that? It's like a I think a European term for question. That's why I associate it anyways. It is. It's a query, right? Remember, we query the database, we question the database, and there's a language we use, which we don't really have to know. We're not really going to learn it in this class. But the language to query a database, to ask a question of it, and it returns results for you. What was that language called? You guys remember? It was a structured query language, HTML5, which goes by SQL. Okay, HTML5 is just an tagged language, but SQL, structured query language. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to build a connection to an access file. So you remember I asked you guys to save your access, that Horizons access file, somewhere. Okay, so if you haven't done that, go do it. Go find it on Blackboard. It has the extension ACCDB, Access Database, and save it somewhere. So I'm going to open it. Let's look at it first. You guys have access on your machines, don't you? Yes, I think so. Okay, this is the Horizons Access Database. It is comprised of 4 tables. So remember, we talked tables are like two-dimensional things, look like worksheets. There are 4 tables. Those tables, and I'm gonna review all of those. So click on Company. Double click on Company. The Company table includes data about each company in the fund and a percentage of the fund that is allocated to purchasing stocks from that company. So it looks like we purchased about 9.8% of our portfolio is made up of Aluminum Company of America. That's Alcoa, by the way. And it looks like Delta is comprised of 6.7% of our company. If we look at the long-term performance table, okay, it looks at each of those symbols that we looked at in the first one and where they perform. So it has in there, it has summarized the performance over the last 52 weeks for each stock, recording the high and low values of that stock over the year. So 49.5, 29.125 for Alcoa. And the volatility is it's moved 19.47 over the range of their things that time. So that table is tied to the company table. And what do you think ties it together? What do you think makes it match?
Key.
And the key in this case is what?
Ticker symbol.
Sure, that's unique, right? AA means Alcoa. Recent performance is the daily high, low, closing, and volume values for over the last 5 days. So once again, there's those ticker symbols. So we actually have Alcoa for September 16th, September 17th, boom, boom, boom. But yes, once again, this is what's tying it together. And then stock info, just kind of a general information of each of those stocks. And we don't really have to know this to bring this stuff into Excel, but it's good to understand this. If we go to Database Tools, and then click on Relationships, it'll show you how those things are related together. Okay, so here are all the tables. There's 4 tables in this database. See how they're tied together with that ticker symbol that Dan pointed out? And here are all the values. Now, I may not want all of these tables, right? I may not want all these tables, but I may want some fields from this table, and I may want some fields from that table, and maybe I want some fields from that table. And I want them put into one table into Excel. You know what I mean? I want to pick certain columns, certain features of these tables and bring them into Excel into one table. Well, the thing that will allow me to do that is SQL, the query, okay, the structured query language. It reads it, it knows how to tie it together, and it knows how to bring back that information in a good format for me. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this. So close it out. Close out Microsoft Access. And don't save any changes. We don't need to save changes. Okay, we're going to bring sheet 1. We already have our fund. So let's go to sheet 2. Let's connect. Let's bring data into worksheet 2 from this database. And instead of connecting to the whole database, which we'll do that in a bit, but instead of connecting to the whole database, I'm going to use Microsoft Query Wizard to just pull a little bit of it over, okay, just some of it over, right, into worksheet 2. So what I want to do is, once again, I want the Data tab, and I'm going to go to From Other Sources. Okay, so From Other Sources. And I'm going to bring it over. I'm going to use a Microsoft query to query that Access database and only bring over certain things that I want. I'm asking a question of you. So it wants to know, hey, what kind of database do you have here? Well, I know my database is, there's DBase files, Excel files. It's an Access database is what I'm going to query. Make sure that, use the query wizard is checked so that we use the query wizard to do this. And click OK. Does yours work? Why doesn't- No? Allie, yours didn't work? Wait, maybe I have to select it first. Wait for the program. Come on. Yeah, I didn't select it. I should have. All right, so it should time out though, but mine didn't. Did yours time out, or are you guys still searching? Yours timed out? All right, let's go back. Do I still have my data? Yeah, all right. So I'm going to, from other data sources, from Microsoft Query, Access Database, click OK. Oh. No, it still should, it should show me. No, I did it right. It should.
When you do browse, like pull up the file.
No, you shouldn't have to. That dialog that comes up should find it for us.
Cause like this popped up for me.
That's what you want.
Oh.
Yeah. Do people have Leah has like a bunch of folders? Is that what you guys have? That's what you want. Allie, you don't? Who has what I have, like a blank screen?
I just got it.
Oh, it finally did come up, Allie? Okay. What you want to come up is a path, where you can select files. And I don't know why this one is not coming up with that. But you want to come up with select files. Because when I did it on my Office PC, it worked fine. Sorry. There's something wrong with this, the tie it has in. Let me try one more thing, and if it doesn't work, then technical error gets you out of class early. Let's see. All right, I'll get that working, but for now, so let's go to sheet 2 or sheet 3, it doesn't matter, just find a blank sheet, okay? For some reason the query is not working, I'm not sure, probably something with the way, and some of you guys did get that, were able to navigate, everyone eventually know, Robbie, you weren't, okay? Anyways, let's just try to connect to a table, and I want to show you that, okay? So if we go up to data, and we go to from access now, okay? So instead of using Microsoft, there must be something wrong with the Microsoft query wizard on this machine. I want to go to from access. So click on from access, and let's find that Horizons database again. And I'm going to click open. Now here is where I can pull in all the tables, or one of the tables, or two of the tables if I like. So I'm going to bring in the company table, and I'm going to put it in sheet 2, and I'm going to put it in table format to start with. So it's going to, the tables we created with the designs and everything like that, we're going to bring it into that. So click OK. And all it really has done here is take all that data from that company table and dump it into an Excel table. Leah?
When you did that, did you go from other sources or did you just
No.
from access?
Yeah, we want to do from access. So if we want to, because my other sources didn't work. So I'm going to go from access. I want to find it, which is Horizons. And this time I'm going to bring in long-term performance on sheet 3. Just to show you another example. So on sheet 2 I have that company table. On sheet 3 I have the long-term performance. Now, what the query would have allowed us to do, and I'll get this working, or I'll bring in my own laptop if this doesn't work. But what the query would allow us to do is what we want to do is we want to pull in one table, we want to pull in, for like Alcoa, we want to pull in all this information, but in the same table, we also want the year high and year low. So I know I'm not going to use the query tool that automatically has those ties built in, but we should be able to figure it out. There's always one or more than one way to do something. So what if I wanted to pull in for each of these companies, I wanted to pull in their stock price high and stock price low and put it into this table. What tool would you use for that? Someone whispered. Yeah, sure, right? A VLOOKUP. VLOOKUps, all we would have to do is, right, if we wanted to do the, let's say the high price, or let's do high, okay? I could say equal VLOOKUP, right? I need to know what I'm looking up, so the lookup value is ticker symbol, comma. My table is over here in sheet 3. Whoops. Because I want to select it all. Okay. Comma, I want to return the second column. And do I want an exact match or not? I do, right? I want it to be exactly AA. So I'm going to put false. I hit enter, and it brings over the high price for all of these. Looks like I screwed that one up, but I'll just copy it down. Okay. All right, I'm gonna let you go. This kind of threw a monkey wrench into the plan. But Monday, we will continue connecting to databases. We don't have anything outstanding at this point. I'll build the Module 11 cases. I'm going over today to the testing center to take, I've been talking about the Excel certifications. Well, they finally have them installed on the computers at the testing center. I'm going over today to take the practice test. So I want to see what's on it before I recommend what you guys should take or not take. Okay, so I'm going over like at 10 o'clock today, taking the practice test. So I'll let you know how it is, right? And then we'll see if you guys want to sit for it. All right?
There we go.
Yeah.
You figure out if I can take the international class, really? So I'm wondering, is, because it's messing with the course I was originally gonna take, so I had to take one.
Yeah, I have. What do you mean?
Well, like I originally had to take a core class, but, because I got this
Oh, it's the same
online.
time as that.
Yeah, and then I got an email saying that that online class was only open for the Ed, even though I didn't have a block on it. So now I have to take the in-class one, and that's the same time as.
Who's
core.
teaching that, by the way?
The
The-
international.
Yeah, international relations.
It's